Dear students, we have already learned as to how to compute the per visit value of accommodation with the help of 2-3 problems in my previous video. Now let us go ahead with some more problems so that you will understand the calculation of the per visit value of accommodation properly. Let me go ahead with problem number 4. Mr. Nagaraj is working in Tata Steels Limited. From the following particulars, compute the per visit value of accommodation provided. So basic is 20,000 per month. So you have to calculate for the full year. Bonus equal to 1 month salary. So 20,000 is the bonus. Furnished accommodation provided to the employee, for which the actual rent paid by the company, 80,000 per annum. That means here the accommodation is not owned, it is hired. And it's the employee is non-government employee. So the calculation is you have to consider the population here, and the population in point number F it is given, it's more than 25 lakh, that means 26 lakhs. So you have to consider the population for calculating the per visit value. So if the population is more than 25 lakh of the city where he works and where the accommodation is provided, then the per visit value is 15% of salary. What is salary? We'll study. 15% of salary, but here it's not owned. Here the employee has hired the accommodation and provided. If that is the case, 15% of salary or actual rental value, whichever is less. Let me make it very clear. If the accommodation is owned by the employer, you have to consider the population of the city where the accommodation is provided. And then if the population is more than 25 lakh, 15% of salary. If it is more than 10 lakh and not more than 25 lakh, it is 10% of salary. If it is not more than 10 lakh, then it is 7.5% of salary. But if the accommodation is hired, then population does not come into picture. So what you have to consider is 15% of salary or actual hire charges, whichever is less. So that is applicable here. Then rent recovered from Mr. Nagaraj. So that means here it is not rent-free accommodation. It is concessional accommodation. So 10,000 is recovered from Nagaraj. Therefore, the accommodation is not totally free. It is partially free. In other words, it is it's not rent-free, rather concessional accommodation. Furniture costing rupees 80,000 is also provided in the house, for which the company pays a rent of rupees 1,000 per month. So even furniture is hired one. If the furniture is owned, 10% of cost of furniture should be taken. But here it is not owned, it is hired. Therefore, cost of furniture should be simply ignored. What you have to take is actual rent paid or payable. That is 1,000 per month into 12. And population has got no significance here because accommodation is not owned. Population you have to take only when the accommodation is owned. So let us make it very clear. Accommodation is hired here, and even furniture is hired. If the accommodation is hired, the procedure of calculation is 15% of salary, whatever may be the population, 15% of salary or actual hire charges, whichever is less. As far as furniture is concerned, if the furniture is owned, 10% of original cost that should be taken. If it is hired, you have to take higher charges or rent paid for that furniture. So it is the second one to be taken here, that is actual rent paid for the furniture, that should be added. See the solution. So basic salary is 20,000 into 12. Bonus 1 month bonus. Therefore 1 month basic 20,000 together 2,60,000. Computation of per visit value of accommodation. So per visit value of accommodation is equal to 15% of salary, that comes to 39,000, or actual rent paid 80,000, whichever is less. So 39,000. I told you population is not to be considered here, and the rule is actual rent paid or 15% of salary, whichever is less. Then we will get perquisite value of unfurnished accommodation. Now here furniture is provided. So value of furniture is actual hire charges because it is higher. So 1000 into 12, 12,000. So value of rent-free furnished accommodation is 15,000. But here the accommodation is not rent-free. Some amount is collected from the employee, that is 10,000, not per month altogether. Therefore, the accommodation is given at a concessional rate. What is the value of concessional furnished accommodation? So 51,000 minus 10,000, that is rent paid by the employee. So the ultimate value is 41,000, that is the value of the accommodation. See the notes, all these things I have already explained. As the employer has taken the accommodation on hire, value of perquisite is 15% of salary or actual rent paid or payable, whichever is less. As the accommodation is higher, population of the place of employment has to be ignored. Here in the problem, population is given 26 lakh. That should be simply ignored. Population is to be considered only when the accommodation is owned by the employee. Next, as the furniture is higher, perquisite value furniture is the actual rent paid. In case it is owned, then 10% of original cost, excluding cost of laptops and computers, is added to the perquisite value of accommodation, that is unfurnished accommodation. Alright, that's about this problem. We'll move on to the next problem. From the following particulars, compute the perquisite value of accommodation. Basic salary is 3 lakh for the entire year, not per month. So you have to note whether the value is given per month or per annum. That's very important, otherwise you will go wrong while computing the perquisite value. And moreover, some values may be given per month and some values may be given per annum. Therefore, you must be very careful while considering the values. So basic pay, that is for the entire year 3 lakh, not per month. DA 50% of basic, that means 3 lakh, of that 50% that comes to 1,50,000. But entire 1,50,000 is not considered for retirement benefits. Of that, half is considered. That means 75,000. Half of 75,000 is 75. Half of 1,50,000 is 75,000. For your information, DA has to be taken for salary, and in the salary for the computation of rent-free accommodation only if it is considered for retirement benefits. Supposing nothing is given within the bracket, then DA is not at all to be considered. Yes, so only that part of DA which enters into the computation of retirement benefits has to be included in salary for the valuation of accommodation. 2 months basic, 2 months basic pay means 3 lakh divided by 12. You will get 1 month's that is basic. That comes to mostly 25,000. 2 months means 50,000. Okay, medical allowance, it is fully taxable, so it should be taken 1,000 into 12. CCA, city compensatory allowance, it is fully taxable, it should be taken as part of salary. Commission based on turnover, so 20 lakh, of that 1% is 20,000, so 2% means 40,000. Okay, furnished accommodation provided to the employee for which the actual rent paid by the company is 90,000. That means here also accommodation is not owned. Therefore, population does not come into picture here. Even, of course, it is not given here. Even if it is given, that pay is not to be considered. So the rule for valuation of perquisite value is 15% of salary or actual rent paid, whichever is less. Rent recovered from the, we'll take up that point next. Cost of furniture provided 10,000 and the company pays 800 as higher charges. So even furniture is hired one. If it is hired one, higher charges should be taken. The cost has to be simply ignored. Supposing it is given here, Cost of furniture provided is 10,000. That's all. Nothing is given regarding the hire charges. Then it is assumed that it's owned by the employer and therefore 10% of original cost to be taken. Of course, in this problem, it is hired one, higher charges should be taken. Now, in this case, accommodation is not totally rent-free because some amount is collected from the employee. 20,000 is collected from the employee. Therefore, it is concessional accommodation, not rent-free accommodation. Well, let's see the solution. Basic salary is 3 lakh. DA, 50% is DA of basic. Of that, half is entering into retirement benefits. That is 75,000. 2 months basic, 50,000. How you got that 25,000? 3 lakh divided by 12 into 2. Medical allowance, 1,000 into 12. CCA, 15,000. Entire value is considered. Commission, 20 lakh into 2%. That comes to 40,000. 4,92,000 is the salary for the purpose of valuation of accommodation. Since it is hired one, rule is 15% of salary or actual rent paid, whichever is lower. So here 73,800 or 90,000, 73,800 is the lower one. That should be taken. Then add higher charges of furniture. So higher charges of furniture, I'm sorry, here I should have given furniture. Higher charges of furniture, 800 into 12, 9,600. So value of rent-free accommodation is 83,400. So if nothing is recovered from the employee, the perquisite value would have been 83,400. But here some rent is collected from the employee, that is 20,000. Therefore, the accommodation is not rent-free, it is concessional but furnished. So it is 63,400. Look at the note. As the employer has taken the accommodation on hire, value of perquisite is 15% of salary or actual rent paid or payable, whichever is lower. As the furniture is higher, perquisite value is the actual rent paid. In case it is owned, then 10% of original cost, excluding laptops and computers, is added to the perquisite value of accommodation. So I have repeated these things several times. That's all. We'll move on to the last problem in this video. From the following particulars, compute perquisite value of rent-free accommodation. Basic, it is 20,000. Of course, I made a mistake here. It is per month. 20,000 per month it should be. Then 20,000 into 12, that should be 2,40,000. Then DA, 20% of basic. So 2,40,000 divided by into yes, I have made a mistake here again. 50%, it should be 50%. So DA 50%, 2,40,000 of that 50% is 1,20,000. Of that half is 60,000. Yes, 1,20,000 of that half is 60,000. That's true. So it should be 50,000% here, subject to correction. Here 20,000 per month. Here 50%. Okay. Bonus 1 month's basic. Of course, 1 month's basic means 20,000. DRNS pay 5,000 per month. DRNS pay 5,000 per month. If it enters the retirement benefits, entire amount should be taken. So entire amount enters into retirement benefits. Therefore, entire 5,000 per month into 12 should be taken. Commission 2% of turnover of 30 lakh. 1% is 30,000. 2% is 60,000. It's provided rent-free house in Delhi. So nothing is recovered from the employee. Therefore, it is rent-free accommodation. And here population is not given, but Delhi is a metropolitan city. Population is definitely more than 25 lakh. Therefore, 15% of salary is taken as perquisite value. Here population should be considered, but population is not given. But Delhi is one of the metropolitan cities, a big city, and population is definitely more than 25 lakh. Therefore, 15% of salary is taken as the perquisite value of rent-free accommodation, unfurnished accommodation. Cost of furniture is 75,000 and the company pays 700 per month charges. So Here since it is higher, higher charges should be added. Look at the solution. Basic pay 20,000 into 12, 2,40,000. DA 50% of 2,40,000 into 12%. Half of the DA is considered for retirement benefits. Therefore, DA is 50% of 2,40,000. That comes to 1,20,000. Of that, half enters into retirement benefits. That should be taken for 60,000. Bonus 1 month's basic, so 20,000. DRS pay 5,000 per month. It enters into retirement benefits, so into 12, 60,000. Commission 2% of 30 lakh, so 60,000, so 4 lakh 40,000. Perquisite value of accommodation is, since it is owned, population should be considered. Population is not given, but the city where accommodation is provided is Delhi. Population is more than 25 lakh. If it is more than 25 lakh, perquisite value is 15% of salary. Salary being 4,40,000, of that 50%, 66,000. Then furniture is hired one. Actual hire charges are 700 per month into 12, so 8,400. So perquisite value of rent-free accommodation is 74,400, and nothing has been recovered from the employee towards the accommodation. So the furnished value of rent-free accommodation remains the same, 74,400. So let's see the note. As the accommodation is owned by the employer, perquisite value of accommodation is 15% of salary. Why 15%? Because population of Delhi is more than 25 lakh. Okay. The next, furniture is hired. Therefore, actual hire charges are added to the perquisite value of rent-free accommodation. Thank you.